Hey everybody, it's Roy from ANS Gear, and we're looking at the brand new Geo 4 today. Let's go open it up, get inside of it. I did bring up a 3.5 so that you can kind of see the difference between the 3.5s and the 4. From the outside, the box is just different as far as coloring goes, but it's the same box as you saw in previous models of the Geo and the CS and the CS2. So just different color. Nice teal and black box now. All right, so same case though. Case is nice. I know on some of their more inexpensive models, they're going with just all cardboard cases. It's good to see that they're keeping this for the Geo 4. Manual barrel setup right here, FL barrel. One back is a 689, and then your tip, which is an aluminum tip instead of the carbon fiber, which I prefer. I like the added weight. Gives you a 14-inch barrel right there. So you could get other tips, you can get other backs, you can get the carbon fiber tip, and you can run that. Either way, it's up to you. Let's pull the 4 out here. You get the barrel sleeve, obviously the hard face bolt for the IV core, lube, Allen keys, and then the Geo 4 spares parts kit right there. We don't really need the barrel on it. Well, actually, we might do a weight comparison between the two, or give you just an overall weight on there. Move this out of the way. We'll put it over here. And we'll put this just off to the side. So from just looking at it, the differences between this and the 3.5 are really in ergonomics and the way this looks right here. All right, so we have a different front grip setup right here. The AT pipe is obviously gone now on this setup right here, which means in the front, there's just batteries in here now. In 3.5, our regulator was in here. Now the regulator has been moved from the front grip and into the frame. So our gas runs through here, through our ASA, up into our regulator, through the regulator, and then through the front of the grip frame right here. So it doesn't pass straight up and into the back. It goes through the grip frame and up, and then into the solenoid assembly inside there. Not the new low-rise feed neck on there. The eye covers held on by a screw in the 3.5. Now they're held in by the same assembly that we saw in the CS models. When the first CSs come out, the CS1, 1.5, and then the 2, where it's got this little locking tab where you can pull that back, and then you can lift this up. If I can get my gloved fingers underneath there and lift the eye cover out. So it does still come with an extra set of detents right there and a detent in there. It is a wired eye. Unlike what we've seen in the CS2 and their models that are kind of based on that, where the whole upper or the whole board assembly stays within the grip frame. There isn't actually a board that's attached to the body. You'll see when I open this up the difference between that. So this is still a wired eye with a wired solenoid that runs from the front. The solenoid is still up in the front right here with wires running back to the back of the frame to connect to the board that's inside here. But that's what we're looking at right there. So pull that off, 2 AA's in the front. It's a better system, it reads the battery better. It has all the benefits of what we saw from the CS platform. Getting into the ASA, it's a smaller setup, but still pops ASA setup on there. We talked about the lower feed neck, the eye covers, how they come on and off. I'm going to leave this grip off of here for a second. The bolt or the drivetrain. So if I pop this one out, this is a 3.5 IV core in here. Pull this one out, and as far as I can tell, it's the same bolt assembly. The spacing is the same, the holing is the same. The cuts in the bolt itself are a little different. Let me pull this one forward. You can see right there that the porting on this bolt is bigger than that one right there. So that is a difference that we're looking at as far as how the air flows through the bolt and how it physically moves back and forth. They have inset the front for the soft tip bolt with the soft tip. It's part of the inside of the front of the bolt now, rather than being a thing that snaps onto the end of the bolt. This has the hard face bolt in this one right here. Still has that spring assembly inside there that we were commenting. So it still looks like an IV core, but there are some slight little subtle differences, which I'm sure has helped to improve the functionality of the bolt itself. Now, as far as specific numbers on like airflow and turbulence and things like that, I don't know any of those numbers, but I'm sure that they reimagined it and redesigned it to improve it in one way or the other. But as far as spacing and everything like that, they're just building off of the original IV core that came in the 3.5. Let's put that over there, and I'm going to move this over here. This one is going to go over here. I am going to put this on a towel, just so I don't make a giant mess on our tabletop here, because it is greasy. All right. So, what else is the differences between the two? Let's look next at, here they are. Start to get into the internals of the gun a little bit. So this requires Allen key to get the grips off. So we're going to pull these off just so that we can see what's going on. This gun might look familiar to some of you because it was used in some other video stuff too. All right, get that off of there. And these are just like the new version of these grips where they snap on and off in order to get them off, which I really like that a lot. All right. So what we're looking at here is the board assembly. You can see obviously the 9-volt was in here. Batteries are now up at the front. Board assembly sitting inside of here. So the board, as far as I can tell, and I've kind of referenced some part numbers and things like that, is the same board that they use in the CS1 and the 1.5. So it's the same part number on there, same screen setup. Everything looks to be the same for that as far as board numbers go. Micro switch is still on the board, unlike we saw in the CS2s where the micro switch is moved up to the top of the gun or the top of the frame, where the board sits along the top. It's still behind the trigger and does still have the optical sensor as well. So you can switch between the two if you like that or not. And it has a nice large screen on the back there. Let's separate these two off of here and go from there. Now you can see one difference between the 3.5 with eye wiring running down. Both the solenoid and eye wires run through and then drop down into the frame to attach. In here, all we see is just one set of eye wire, or it's one set of wiring. This is the connection between the lower and the upper board, if we want to look at it that way. Well, it's actually not even that. The connection is between the two boards that interface like this. This is actually the power wire. I had to think about what gun I've got in front of me here. So this is the power wire from the battery. The battery is running a wire that runs all the way back through here and then connects on the board. The interface is between the board and the piece that's up above it. So this is just one wire running up through here and into there. And as we go along, you'll start to see some similarities between this gun and another gun that Planet Eclipse made, where this looks more like one other gun than really a 3.5. So let's get the AT pipe off of this one. We'll set that over there. We are going to need to, actually I don't need to. It's sometimes easier to pull this front grip off if you're going to remove the frame, but I'm not going to on this one. I am going to disconnect my wiring. And that's going to allow me to get this off. This front screw you can just kind of loosen up a little bit. You don't need to remove it all the way. And this rear one you can do the same thing with. Loosen it up just enough so you can slide the frame back and pull it apart. So on this one, we're looking at the solenoid that we were used to seeing before on the 3.5, where it was unrebuildable or non-user rebuildable. And that has changed moving over into the new gun. So now the solenoid setup in the Geo 4 is serviceable by the user, which is a really nice thing to have. So no longer do we have to just rely on this to never go bad and then replace it when it does. we can service most of this when it does, if it does fail or need to be serviced. All right, so let's pull this one apart. There and through the back. And then this does have at the front something that we saw in later versions of the CS, where it has this bar that helps lock the fronts together. Let's see if I can get this out. There we go. And that lets this separate and come apart. Now here's the inside of our Geo 4 frame and the inside of our Geo 3.5. So we still have the flow restrictor adjustability right there. So if we want to make the gun a little bit smoother but decrease the overall rate of fire, we can adjust that. If we want to make it as fast as we go or fast as we can, but generate a little bit more noise and a little bit more kick, we can turn the flow restrictor the other direction and get more performance out of the gun. It's really a balance between what you like or how you want the gun to feel by controlling that flow restrictor right there. So if you do turn the flow restrictor up to make the gun a little bit smoother, don't try to run it at 1,000,000 balls a second, because it just won't be able to do it for you. So run it slower. Everybody's shooting slower these days anyway, so no big deal. All right, so there we go. Now, if you're familiar with Planet guns, this should look extremely familiar to you. This might not, because it's an older gun, but this should look just like something you've seen before from them. Very, very similar to the CS platform, the CS1, the CS 1.5. So yeah, I know that they're using a lot of the same parts between the two of them. If you're comfortable with that, you should be very comfortable with this. We have the input, so this is where the gas is coming up through the trigger frame, up through here. It's coming up through this gasket or this hole back here, and then going into the solenoid right there. And then the blow off, when the bolt tries to move and the air that's holding the bolt back has to get out of the way, it blows out through this little hole in the front of the solenoid, and then it goes through the front gasket down and out the flow restrictor. So depending on where you have that flow restrictor, it's controlling the rate at which the exhaust air can flow out of the frame. By making that hole smaller, it's harder to get the exhaust air out, and the bolt moves slower, making the gun cycle smoother, and that's why it reduces your rate of fire, because the bolt can't move as quick. If you open that hole up really wide, and that gas exhaust can flow right out really quick, then the bolt can move quicker. So that's what's happening with the flow restrictor right there, in case anybody was ever wondering. But again, this solenoid assembly, it looks just like the CS1 solenoid assembly. Pilot valve in the front, rebuildable spool and manifold. Everything inside here is rebuildable except for the pilot valve. You can't rebuild that yourself, but you can rebuild everything else inside of there. So if you've got leaks or issues that aren't pilot valve created, you can finally fix those things yourself, which is a great thing. We saw our eye wiring running back through here, and also our power wire from our pilot valve running back through here, and then it connects to the board, the same board setup they used in the CS1 and the 1.5, which has these little brass plates right here. When those slot down into the top of the board, they push against little sprung fingers that are inside there, and that's what makes the connection between the two, and that's how the lower board communicates with the upper components and knows what's going on up inside of there. All right, so again, they're just updating this into a platform that they know works and is serviceable by the community that's using it, which I think is fantastic. Bravo for them for doing that. All right, so let's get this back together, and then we'll weigh it up for you guys. Get an overall weight real quick of the new Geo 4. And it's easy to take these apart. You can see I really only needed one Allen key to get this gun apart to this point. I did use my other Allen key to poke the that retainer bar out from the front, but you could use something else, I guess. So put that back through there. And after you've taken this out a couple times, it'll be easier to get that little pin out. Brand new gun, it's obviously a little more difficult. So we will be doing other videos for this gun, so obviously check those out as well. If there's something you guys want to see, let us know. All right, back together. Let's move you over here for now. We'll do with and without the barrel. All right, so without the barrel, 1 pound, almost 1 pound, 12 ounces, 1 pound, 11.8. So 1 pound, 12, that's a pound and 3/4 right there. And then if we take that, and then we put that on top. So 2 pounds flat with that set up right there. Now, I know I have this in pieces over here. So we were 1 pound, 12 ounces, roughly. Let's do that, and this, and this, and these, and then these are on there too. So 1 pound, 12.2, so it's lighter than its 3.5 predecessor. Not by much, but slightly lighter, which is a good thing. They've changed the ergonomics. Which something we saw in the CS1 and 1.5 is how big the grip was. A lot of people didn't like that. They've slimmed that grip down a lot while still using the same board assembly, using the same front grip. I like the feel, I like the look. We shot it a little bit earlier, like the way it shot. I loved the way the 3.5 shot, and I like the way the CS is shot. So this is a newer version of an older gun based on some components that they know work fantastically well. And by putting them into this Geo 4, basically bringing what was the Geo platform up to a current level, I think was a fantastic idea. So we got the Geo 4s. They are in stock. Check the website for color availability. Check the website and YouTube for more videos about the Geo 4. Again, get on the website, check it out. Get yours at ansgear.com.